So the time has finally come for me to give my thoughts on the FN PS90. This is the civilian version of the P90. Main difference being the PS90 comes with a 16-inch barrel and semi-automatic, whereas the actual P90 comes with a short barrel, 10.4 inch, and has full auto and semi-auto. I was waiting to do this review because, one, I obviously wanted to get some range time with it, but more importantly, I wanted to get the short barrel installed, which means I had to wait for the Form 1. I went with the 10.4 inch short barrel from CMMG. It was super easy to install. I did it myself. Maybe I'll make a video on that as well. But my main issue is that the factory barrel, on top of being really long and goofy, isn't threaded, so there's no way to run suppression, and I prefer to have all of my guns suppressed, especially ones that are intended for home defense, which this one is. So with the suppressor installed, the overall length is actually the same as what it would be with the stock 16-inch barrel, except now I obviously have the advantage of being suppressed. A lot of people refer to this as the Call of Duty gun, which is not exactly accurate because this gun was like a world famous firearms icon a full 20 years before Call of Duty was even a franchise. But, you know, to be fair, a lot of the younger generations learned about this gun through Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one, not the newest one. I grew up in the 90s watching sci-fi, so to me, this is the Stargate SG-1 gun. You know, this is the gun that Jack O'Neill and his team were taking through the Stargate to rid the galaxy of alien scum. So it is no exaggeration to say that I have legitimately wanted one of these things for most of my life. But up until recently, I didn't have a very good reason to buy one. That's mostly because I'm very frugal when it comes to firearms. You know, I like to save money where I can. Like my 1911 is a Rock Island Armory. My AR-15 is a Delton that I got on a Black Friday sale, no less. My 300 Blackout is a Jackal from Palmetto State Armory. And yeah, I just, you know, I don't usually pay top dollar for guns if I don't have to. But in this case, I needed to because this particular gun checked every single box that I was looking for, and it was just really the only option for me to get everything that I wanted. This suppressor, by the way, is a 3D printed homemade suppressor that also has a Form 1, so technically this is a 2-stamper, but if you're interested in hearing more about this particular can, I have a video up on my channel that you can see. So back to why I got this gun specifically. I was considering this or the CMMG Descent, also chambered in 5.7. And the CMMG is a really good gun. CMMG makes a bunch of really cool stuff. I still might get one of their guns at some point because I've been eyeballing their Descent chambered in 45. I'm kind of like, my next gun will be either the CMMG in 45 or a Chris Vector in 45. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So it was between this and the CMMG. But this one checked every single box because I got this gun specifically for my wife to use in a home defense scenario, which meant I needed something that was as small as possible so it would be easy for her to handle. And I mean, you can't get much smaller than a PS90. I mean, as far as bullpup rifles go, I don't know if there's anything smaller than this. I needed something that had low recoil, which 5.7 is basically no recoil, while still being an extremely effective round. Like, you can defeat soft armor with 5.7. I think it defeats up to level 3 even. So this is a very effective round. but also low recoil, easy to manage. And I needed something that had the largest magazine capacity available, which there's no competing with 50 rounds ready to go, right? I think the CMMG holds 30 or 32, which is still pretty good. And maybe there's bigger magazines, I'm not totally sure. But like I said, this one holds 50 rounds, you know. So if you got 2 magazines, you got 100 rounds on tap, which is just crazy. But yeah, so as you can see, as far as the optic goes, I'm using a Holosun 407K, and the reason why I decided to go with such a tiny optic is because I wanted my profile to be as low as possible. Normally these things come with a Picatinny rail sitting right here, and then you put the optic on top of that, and it's like your height over bore is just really crazy with this gun. So I made a 3D printed insert that the optic mounts onto, and then it's, you know, bolted in place, which allows everything. And the optic itself is actually small enough that it fits between these 2 rails. So with this setup, everything is as low as it can possibly be. Like, you almost can't get lower than this. So that's the only reason why I went with that. There's other options out there. There's some pretty expensive optical mounts, but I wouldn't recommend them because you can very easily make one yourself. Actually, I have a video on making one yourself. But yeah, so I just wanted it to be as low profile as possible. And yeah, like I said, this gun checked every single box that I was looking for. And in addition to that, it suppresses very well, you know. Obviously, you know, 5.7 is essentially a pistol round, so there's no reason why it shouldn't be that hard to suppress, but it's just something I mentioned, you know, because I mean, you can put a suppressor on 5.56, but that still isn't going to make it the best home defense weapon, and it's still going to be very loud in your house, whereas this one quiets down quite a bit, and I'll include B-roll of it shooting at the range, suppressed, so that you guys can see it in action. My thoughts on this gun so far, legitimately, this is one of my favorite guns already. Like I said, I haven't owned it for that long, but just the amount of time that I've spent with it so far, I love this thing. It's, I mean, obviously I'm biased a little bit because of the childhood nostalgia, but on top of that, it really is just an extremely well-made firearm. You know, like I said, 50 rounds on tap. That's more than I got for any of my other guns. Basically has no recoil, you know, as you'll see in the video, whether it's played already or whether it's going to play next. There's, you know, you can barely feel this thing when you're shooting, which means you can very easily stay on target. The ergonomics are some of the best that I've experienced. And maybe it's just me. I mean, obviously ergonomics is obviously personal preference, but for me, this gun is extremely comfortable to hold. Like, whenever I use an AR that has a pistol grip, I find that I need a more angled grip to be comfortable. And as you can see with this grip, it is extremely angled. So it's almost like you're holding a shotgun. You know what I'm saying? Like, grip wise, like my wrist feels very straight when I'm holding this versus some ARs have like a very vertical grip, and it just feels like I'm bending my wrist in a weird way to hold it comfortably. But with this gun, everything just feels perfect in my hands. You know what I mean? It's very natural to hold, and the charging handle doesn't reciprocate when you're firing, so you can put your thumb on it while you're holding it tight. And you know, everything on this gun is ambidextrous. So if you're a lefty, you're not going to have any issues with this thing. But yeah, I mean, my impressions of this gun are that I kind of wish I would have bought it a long time ago. Like, it's just that good, you know. And personally, I would recommend anybody who buys this, get the SBR. You know, I know you got to get the tax stamp. I know it's going to add time to the whole process and money, but it's just worth it. 16-inch barrel is goofy. They look weird. It doesn't feel like a P90 when you're rocking a 16-inch barrel. And like I said, it's not threaded, so you can't put a suppressor on your weapon even if you wanted to. Like, I'm of the opinion that all modern guns should come threaded from the factory. But yeah, I think that if you're going to get a PS90, you should absolutely go with the SBR, because it's just better. It just feels wrong to have a 16-inch barrel on this thing. The other thing I like about this gun is that it's just extremely simple. Like, field stripping this thing takes no time at all. It's very easy to clean. Like, you pop the magazine off. Right, you just make sure that there's no rounds in the chamber, obviously. And then there's a button here. You push that, the whole receiver slides off, and you can clean your barrel very easily. I don't know if it's going to show the hole right there. Oh, a little bit. Yeah, there we go. There's the hole. You can clean your barrel very easily. Your bolt slides out. I'm not going to actually slide it. Actually, no, I cleaned it last night. I can slide everything out. The bolt slides out like that. And then there is a butt plate here, which comes up. You need to cock it first so that the trigger mechanism is not up and in the way. And then there's this little tab that lets you pull out the whole trigger group. And I mean, that's it. You're fully field stripped. So this gun is extremely easy to use. It's extremely easy to clean and maintain. And it's just, like I said, it's just super well designed. It's one of those guns where I really do wish that I had bought it a long time ago, because I love it. Now that I have it, I really don't have very many complaints. It's not to say that I don't have any complaints. There is one thing in particular about this gun that I never experienced with any of my other guns. I'm going to try not to blast the mic with the sound of me putting all this stuff back in. My one singular qualm with this gun, if you see right here, there's actually a dust cover that you can close. My one singular gripe, which is technically fixable, you could put a little bag down here, but while you're shooting, all of the rounds are ejecting straight down, which is cool, but I've noticed that while I'm shooting, I am getting hit in the crotch, like, a lot. Maybe it's just the way I stand when I shoot, I don't know, but most of the rounds are hitting me right in the crotch whenever I'm shooting this gun. So that's like the one complaint that I have about this thing. It's just, I don't really like getting hit in the sack while I'm shooting a gun. But other than that, I genuinely don't have any complaints about this thing, other than it's not legal for me to own a full auto version of it, which in a heartbeat I would if I could. The magazines are pretty expensive if I had to really search for another thing that's wrong. The stock magazines are like 40 or 50 bucks. I personally went with these, what is this, the AR-57 magazines. These are meant for an AR-15 that's been adapted to use top-loading mags, and it's chambered in 5.7, obviously. These are half the price, and from what I can tell, they seem just as good. I mean, they look identical, they feed almost identical. To be fair, of all the rounds that I've fired, I've only had one single malfunction, and it was with this magazine, but I've fired hundreds of rounds, and I don't know if it was just a coincidence or what. But I just figured I would mention that. I can't say for sure that this magazine caused the malfunction. I'm not saying that these are bad magazines or that they don't function. I'm just saying that of the hundreds of rounds fired, the one single malfunction did occur with this magazine. So take that with a grain of salt, because I don't know if it actually really means anything. So yeah, overall, the PS90 it's one of those guns. It's just, like I said at the beginning of the video, it is an iconic firearm. Almost everybody knows a P90 when they see one. And if you're an enthusiast, there's a lot of very good reasons to own one of these outside of just the cool factor, which these things are oozing cool factor. Like I said, for my specific purpose, this is the absolute perfect, most ideal weapon for home defense for my wife. It's not to say I'll never use it in that scenario. I'm just saying if I'm not home, this is the gun that she's going to be, trained on to use. And, other than that, it's just an amazing close quarters weapon. Like I have it zeroed for 10 yards, obviously, because that's the longest sight in my house, the longest distance from one place to the next. So, you could use this for all sorts of things. But in my particular case, home defense is what it's made for. As far as price goes, I actually got this on sale for, I think it was like $1,400, but I've seen them regularly popping up for $1,100. Like I think PSA occasionally has these things. It's usually Black Friday. They have these things for like $1,100. You can definitely find them on, I think it's Gunbroker I think it's Gunbroker. I can't remember the website, but like I said, I regularly see these things for $1,100, which that's a really good deal. Especially because, like I said, you're going to want to get the short barrel, which from CMMG, I was able to find the short barrel on sale for, I want to say it was $250. I think I got it from Brownells, and the threaded adapter. You're going to need either a threaded adapter or some sort of muzzle device. It's reverse threaded, but I think that the threaded adapter that I got was another $50 or so. So you're going to end up spending about $300 to get the short barrel itself, and then obviously a $200 tax stamp, because SPR ATF is stupid. But yeah, overall, I mean, like I said, this is the most expensive weapon I own at this point, and I genuinely consider it to be worth every penny. It's just such a cool gun. It feels so good to hold it, and it fits my purposes so well. Like I don't have to worry about handing this to my wife and, her having to deal with a bunch of recoil and concussive force coming out the end of the barrel. You know what I'm saying? Like in a high stress scenario like home defense, I want her to be thinking about as few things as possible, right? I don't want her to be thinking about managing recoil or thinking about the freaking, the sound that everything's making and all that. That's why I have it suppressed in the first place. And that's why the 50 rounds was really important. I don't want her to even have to think about a reload. But hopefully that situation just never happens. And hopefully this will just be a fun toy. But like I said, its intended purpose is for home defense, and I genuinely think that there really isn't a better option out there for everything that I was looking for. The CMMG was the next closest because it's also a very small package. Like it's a pistol that you can get with a brace, and it's bufferless, so it's super small and compact. When it's folded up, it's probably smaller than this, or definitely smaller than this. But, obviously, once you throw the suppressor on there, everything ends up kind of equaling out, really. But, yeah, overall, as far as would I recommend the PS90, 100%. Like, if you're thinking about getting a PS90, if you've ever thought about getting a PS90, if you just think that they're cool and you don't have any specific purpose for it in mind, I would 100,000 million jillion billion % recommend a PS90, because it's one of the coolest guns. It's one of the coolest guns, if not the coolest gun that I own, So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. If you like the video, please feel free to like and subscribe. That video that I made about the 3D printed suppressor has brought in a significant amount of subscribers over the last couple weeks. We went from like 300 subscribers to now we're almost at 1,500, which is crazy. And thank you all for subscribing. I actually was able to get into the YouTube partner program because of that one video. So yeah, if you want to join a growing channel, like I said, feel free to subscribe for more content like this. This isn't I didn't make my channel with the intention of being a gun channel or being a 3D printing channel or being a 3D 2A channel. Like it's just this is really a commentary channel where I talk about stuff that I like, and It just so happens that I really like guns and 3D printing and stuff, so it comes up a lot. But there will also be random videos that I make about stuff that's completely unrelated to guns. Like if you go through, there's, you know, random videos about just current events related stuff. So yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.